I will now welcome Jeffrey Gadare and Craig Rapaski, and they will be beginning our session.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Jenny. This is Jeff Gadare with Recite Me. I'm a Senior Director of Business Development. If you're using the PowerPoint separately, we are on, I already have to check, I think the second slide of the presentation. I am a Caucasian male, wear glasses, brown hair, and have a blue collared dress shirt on. And I'm going to turn it over to Craig now, who's also on the call with us to introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Craig Rapaski. I am the USA Marketing Director for Recite Me. I am a Caucasian male. I'm wearing a green shirt. I have brown hair that could probably use a haircut and a beard. Jeff?
Thank you, Craig. And I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is just an introductory slide. Shows the Recite Me logo as well as the FAAST logo. And then we'll move on to the next slide. At the top of the slide, it says, "Who is Recite Me?" Our logo, which is believing in accessibility for all. And there are some photos on there. One says 30+ team members. Offices are worldwide, and 3,000 plus supported websites. So at a high level, we are Recite Me. We've been around for a little over 11 years now. And we work with organizations when it comes to website accessibility. We offer an assistive toolbar that we're going to look at today, which helps individuals that have unique needs like learning disabilities or vision impairments, English as a second language, or literacy concerns, seniors, and so on, to use our toolbar to engage with your website content in a manner that works best for them. As I mentioned, our tool is now on a little over 3,500 websites globally. And we work with a wide range of individuals and organizations, whether they be airports, nonprofit organizations, government agencies, utilities, soccer clubs in the UK, if we have some soccer fans on today, so kind of the whole gambit. And the easiest way to describe the tool is I wear glasses. I know Marquesas and Joshua will wear glasses. So we all have our unique prescriptions. But this is how I would see the world. That's how they would see the world. So think of the tool that we're going to look at today as a lens over your website that's going to allow folks to see, and I am using the word see here very loosely, but to see your website in a manner that works best for them, regardless of the device or how they're accessing your website. And now I'm going to move on to the next slide. At the top, it says why accessibility is good for business. Allow everyone the opportunity to use your website in a way that it's intended. And then we bulleted this out in 3 ways. One is accessibility really is the right thing to do. So everyone should have an opportunity to be able to access online content. 61 million adults in the United States live with some form of disability. We also talk about accessibility as the smart thing to do, opening up your business, nonprofit, so on, to a wider audience to enhance the user's experience. The total disposable income in the U.S. is approximately $490 billion for persons with disabilities. And then the last one, we talk about why accessibility is good or should be important. Is it's something that you must do. In 2021, there really is no excuse for folks not to be inclusive online when it comes to websites. And Forbes has reported that 52% of all online consumers consider a company's values when making that purchase. So the right thing, the smart thing, and long-term something that we all should do. There's no reason in 2021 not to have access to web content for any reason, for anybody. We talk about who a tool like this would be able to support online. And then again, there are some bulleted items here, and I'm just going to read through them. 61 million adults in the United States live with some form of disability. 10.8% of people with a disability have a cognitive disability. 4.6% of people with a disability have a vision disability. 22% of US residents don't speak English as their first language. And that actually equates to, I think, 58 million people in the US now. 49.2 million US residents are aged 65 or over, and that's growing. And 10% of the US population have some form of learning difficulty. So the tool is really designed to help all of these folks, like I said, across the whole gamut, whether it be a learning disability, a vision impairment, language difficulty, literacy concern, and so on. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch over to our website to demo the tool itself. But I will stop here to see if there are any questions before I minimize the PowerPoint and move over to the Recite Me website.
No questions so far.
So let's try this. All right, so I've launched a website window in Google Chrome. This website is the Recite Me website. It is reciteme.com, RECITEME.com. So reciteme.com. And the toolbar that we've kind of been hinting around through the first few pages of the presentation today is here at the top of our web page. It's a button that is labeled Accessibility Tools. And so I'm going to click on that and launch the toolbar, which everyone should be able to see at the top of the Recite Me website. And if somebody could nod to make sure that everybody can see that. Thank you, Craig. It loads at the top of the page. It is a true assistive toolbar. The benefit of it launching at the top of the page is that it's always available for your site visitors. They can scroll up and down and make whatever changes they need to make as they work with your website. From a descriptive standpoint, the toolbar is horizontal across the top of the page, and there are several icons of the tools that we are going to look at today. All the way to the left side of the toolbar, there is a double arrow referring to a rewind button. There is a play button, and then there is a fast forward button, which also has 2 arrows forward. That is our built-in screen reader. The default setting is called hover or autoplay. And what I'm doing now is I'm moving my mouse down to a text portion of the website.
Create inclusive experiences online with accessibility software.
And now it is speaking to me. It has word-to-word highlighting as well as highlighting the entire section that I have hovered my mouse over. Additionally, there is a box called a tooltip, which includes some controls that if they wanted to use, there's play button, which is a forward-facing arrow, a stop button, which is a square, a rewind, which is a double arrow pointing to the left, and a fast forward, which is a double arrow pointing towards the right. So they can also use those. Now I'm going to move my mouse and hover over a link at the top of the page in the memory.
Products.
And you should hear there that when I hover over a link, it says the word link and then tells me where the link will direct me to. Additionally, I'm going to move my mouse over the Recite Me logo now.
Image, the Recite Me logo.
And it speaks out that this is an image and then tells me what the alt image tag is behind that image. Screen reader is very popular, probably gets about 50% of the total use of all of the tools in the Recite Me toolkit. Now, if I go back up to the toolbar, which again is a horizontal across the top of the website, there are 3 blue buttons. One has a minus sign referring to reducing the font size. One has a capital A and a lowercase a, referring to various fonts that are available to folks that might have a learning difference or just like to see the website in a different font. And then there's also a blue button with a plus sign, which site visitors can use to increase the font size, and there's no limitation. When I hover over the AA button, there is a drop-down menu, which includes those fonts like Arial, Verdana, Comic Sans, Georgia, Tahoma, Lato, Trebuchet, and Open Dyslexic. Additionally, there are 2 more controls at the bottom. One is for line height with a plus and negative sign to increase or decrease, and character spacing with a plus and minus to decrease as well. I'm actually going to click on Open Dyslexic right now so that you can see the change on the page. Open Dyslexic, designed for folks with dyslexia, weights the highlighting towards the foot of the word. I'm also going to click the plus sign so you can see it increase the font size on the page as well. So I clicked it 3 times to increase the font size 3 times larger. The next button is, I'm going to call it a color wheel. It's just that. It's a circle with various colors radiating out from the center. This refers to the ability to change the contrast on the website. Think of that as being able to change the background, text, links, ruler, mask, and highlighting into a color combination that works best for your users. We do have prefabbed combinations of dark and light combinations. So I'm clicking on a button that has a black background and a white A, which in turn changed the background on the website to black and the lettering to white. That's a dark contrast. We have various versions of that. Additionally, I'm going to click on one of the light backgrounds, which is a white button with a blue A. So when I click on that, the background turns white and the text turns blue. If your users do not like any of these combinations, they can add a color code into the boxes down at the lower part of this box, or they can use our color wheel and select any color in the known spectrum. And those changes can be made, as I mentioned earlier, to the background, the text, the links, the ruler, which we'll talk about in 1 second, the mask, which we'll talk about in 1 second, as well as the highlighting of the text. One of the cool aspects of our toolbar is it does remember your last setting. So if you do have site visitors that come to your site a lot, they're not going to want to do all of the clicking that we're doing today. So the minute they open the toolbar, it remembers their last setting and will put it right back to that look and feel so they can immediately start engaging with the website. Again, going back to the horizontal toolbar at the top of the website, I'm going to go all the way down to a gray button with a arrow swooshing backwards. And that is a reset button. So I'm going to reset the Recite Me website back to the original look and feel. And the next button in the horizontal menu is a ruler. And that is just that. It is a digital ruler. So now on the screen, there is a black ruler. Again, it helps individuals with learning disabilities to stay online and not lose their place. After the reading ruler, which is an orange button, we have a gray button. I'm going to click on that. That is a masking tool. And what it's done on the screen is I have a small area that I can see. And then the other areas are darkened out with the mask itself. Designed to help individuals that have attention deficit or hyperattention deficit. They can focus on the area that they need to see without being distracted. After the mask is a purple button. As a book opened, it says A to Z on it. That is a button for a dictionary. You can highlight a word on the page and get a definition as well as synonyms for that word. That is on the screen is a pop-up box. On my screen, it's appearing towards the left-hand side of the screen. It says Recite English Dictionary. The next button after the dictionary on the toolbar is a black button with flags in a circular motion. This is our translation button. It opens a drop-down menu that includes over 100 language translations. I will scroll through them quickly, and of course you can always go to reciteme.com to check out the full list there. The language that you see with a speaker next to it are a text-to-speech language. So not only will we be able to translate the site into that language, we'll also be able to have the text-to-speech option as well. They're in alphabetical order. I'm not going to read through all 108 as that would be, boring. But I will come down to Spanish, which is a fairly popular request we get here in the United States. I'll click on
Jeff?
Yes.
I'm sorry. We have someone that's using the link that we emailed out most recently, and he can't get into the webinar. Do you have a suggestion of how I can help him access that? Or maybe Craig can email me the link again.
I'll send it to you right now.
Okay, thanks.
I'll wait 1 second to see if that person can jump on, if that's all right with everyone.
All right, it should be on the way to you.
Get started
What's
again.
that? I'm sorry, was that to Marquesas Blinds at FAAST?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
let me make sure. I think so.
Hmm.
So on the screen again, you should be able to see the language drop down. Or I guess in the description, it would be a language drop down with over 100 language translations in it. I've stopped on a button that says Spanish-US with the word Espanol underneath it, and then there's a speaker next to it. I've clicked on it, and I have translated this particular page into Spanish. So now I'm scrolled to the top of the Recite Me page, and if I scroll down, the entire page has been translated into Spanish. And if I take my mouse again and hover over the words,
Software de complemento de accesibilidad web.
the screen reader will speak that particular line of text. It's a native dialect, still highlighted the entire section and still has word-to-word highlighting as well. So 108 translations, with about a third of those having a text-to-speech option as well. I'm going to use the reset button all the way to the right of the toolbar again, because my Spanish is rusty on Wednesday afternoons. Looking back at the toolbar, to the right of the language button is a green button. It's a piece of paper with the letters TXT on it. And when I click on the TXT button, it removes the HTML from the web page, leaving only the text version. So now on the screen, it is just text, no HTML, no videos, no pictures. The text version helps individuals that might have a photosensitivity or a color sensitivity. And as a rule, the text version of a website is easier to read. I'm going to click on the green TXT button again, and by clicking on it again, it returns the entire website to the HTML version of the site. Next to the text-only button is a yellow button. It has a cloud with an arrow pointing down. This is an audio file download. So site visitors can highlight text and then download it into an audio or MP3 file and listen to that text later on at their convenience. So it's the ability to take a text article and convert it to an audio file. Next to the yellow MP3 button is a grayish button, has a magnifying glass on it. And when I click on that gray button, it opens a magnifying glass. It is a 2.5 times zoom. So on the screen, there is what looks like a magnifying glass. And within the magnifying glass's lens, it has magnified the text that I'm hovering over. If I take my mouse and grab my magnifying glass, I can move it anywhere I want on the screen. I'm going to click on the magnifying gray button again. The next button next to it is a mechanical wheel on a gray button. And that is the settings that are available to the users. So when I click on it, there's another drop-down menu. And then at the top, there are 3 options for the screen reader. One is called autoplay. And next to that, there's an on-off button. There's a tooltip on hover, which again has an on-off button next to it. And then there is continuous play, which has an on-off button next to it. Autoplay is the default setting for the screen reader. That is hover mode. Tooltip is a box that will appear with manual controls on the screen. And continuous play is a true screen reader. I start it with my mouse and it reads the entire page until I stop it. Users can control this screen reader with whichever option is best for them. Below those controls, there is a voice option, male and female. There's a reading speed option as well. It starts at level 1, and they can go down if they need the language to be slower, or they can move it up if they need it to go faster. Next to that is our gray reset button, which we chatted a little bit about earlier. And then the final button in the horizontal toolbar is to let pages of paper on top of each other with an I in it, referring to our user's guide or instructions guide. That opens a separate web page with full instructions on what all of the things do within the toolbar that we've talked about today. And finally, the one tool that you cannot see in the toolbar right now, there is a built-in PDF reader. So if you're using our toolbar and you open a PDF on that site, it will open an R PDF reader and includes many of the tools that we've chatted about today. And that was a lot, so I'll stop there and see if there's any questions on the tool before we kick it back to the PowerPoint presentation and run through kind of some of the support aspects of our services.
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay.
Brandon, welcome. Is there
Recite Me
anything
Assistive.
you'd like us to go back toward and kind of take another overview of?
I think I got it. Whereabouts on the screen is that gray option that has the reader on it? Is it? I saw it kind of in the middle. Is that where it is, up top of the
Yeah,
website?
so Brandon, the screen readers are the green buttons all the way to the left. If you can see my screen, if you can't see it, there are 3 buttons all the way to the left of the toolbar. One is a rewind button, which is the leftmost button, has 2 arrows pointing left. The middle button is the play button, which is a large right-facing button. And then there is a fast forward button. Again, 2 arrows pointing to the right. To control it though, Brandon, there's a mechanical wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And that has all of the controls that allow you to use the screen reader however you want to use it. And that is the 3rd button from the right side of the toolbar, and it's a mechanical wheel. It's on a gray button. And you'll find all of the instruction, or I shouldn't say instructions, all the functionality there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Does that help?
Definitely. Yeah.
Anything else, Brandon?
Nope, that covers it.
Okay. You're good to go, Jeff.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna now minimize this website and open the PowerPoint back up in presentation mode. I'm gonna switch to the next slide, which is slide number 8. And I'm going to turn it over to Craig to talk about implementation, marketing, and support.
Sure, thank you, Jeff. This is Craig Rapaski speaking. So once an organization decides to partner with Recite Me and put the toolbar on their website or sites, the next part is implementation. So sounds like it could be a little scary, but we've done the hard work for you or for the organization that partners with Recite Me. And it's really pretty much as simple as a cut and paste JavaScript code. So that can be deployed native to page or via container tag. So there's different options. And then when it comes to, different people worry sometimes about the the type of site they have, WordPress, Wix, standard HTML, things like that. We have implementation guides set up for pretty much all of them. And then if we don't, we create one for you custom. So yeah, we've done the hard work for you, and we're willing to help get it on your site, whatever it takes. From there, you look at button design and placement. So as Jeff in his demo showed on our website, we have it in the top right corner, which is where we usually recommend it. Some people like to put it in a location that fits with the design of their specific website, and we're good with that, as long as it's in a visible location, because if people can't find it, then they can't use the tool, and then it's kind of all for naught. We have options for buttons that we can provide. As you saw, as Jeff demoed, which is a red button. It says accessibility and language options, which is a more descriptive option. Some choose to use a symbol, but regardless, there's many options to choose from, or you can create your own. Some like to put it right in their header bar and just accessibility options. So there's plenty of options there. Can you go to the next slide, please, Jeff, unless there's anything else I'm missing on the implementation side. All right. So once you have the toolbar installed on your site, you might wonder how it's being used. So the good thing is we offer Recite Reports, and they bring everything you need to know about how you are supporting people online and on your website. These reports are produced by what would be your account manager if you were a partner with Recite Me, and you can get them monthly, bi-monthly, on any basis you like, really. And they cover a wide variety of information about the toolbar and its usage. So on the screen, there is a picture of a Recite Report example. On the first page, farthest to the left, the first statistic showed is pages viewed. So it's the number of pages on your website viewed using any one of the Recite Me tools. So just by opening the toolbar, this would trigger this pages viewed count. So this example shows in this month, or over this 12-month period, the toolbar was used over 2,000 times. The next statistic is unique users. In this example, it shows that 559 unique users engaged or interacted with the toolbar on any one of the pages on this website. And then the third statistic on the first page is pages viewed per session. This example shows that on average, people that used the toolbar viewed 3.6 pages, which the industry average for all websites is users usually view 2.8 pages. So we like to think in some cases, or we hope in most cases, people with the toolbar are able to use and engage with and interact with more content on a website because of the toolbar. So in this example, that would be, we think that is true. The second page of the report shows feature clicks. So it goes a little bit more in depth with the usage of the toolbar. So it's a little hard to read because it's a small image, but the top statistic shows the usage for the screen reader. The next shows translation. Third is styling, and then fourth is reading aids. And then it breaks down the screen reader, what language is used for the screen reader, and the numbers of clicks and the percentage of users which are using those features. Same with translation, it breaks it down by language. Styling, it breaks it down by all the different styling options like font size, background color, things like that. And then reading aids with all the reading aid tools, ruler, screen mask, etc. And then finally, the third page of the Recite report shows platform and browser data. And this shows you a breakdown of how, what platforms or devices people are using to view your website when using the Recite Me toolbar. So in this case, 90% here, we're using desktop, 10% mobile, and then it breaks down the browsers. And it's worth mentioning that the Recite Me toolbar does function on mobile and tablet browsers. Can we go to the next slide, please? So if you'd like to get into the nitty-gritty nerd stuff, which we like to do, we love to do that. We can tie in the Recite Me toolbar with Google Analytics. This allows us to gather greater insight and connect to your core business goals. So with this, you can look at each page individually on your website granularly and see what tools were used on which pages, and then within which tools are used, exactly what changes each user has made to that page. This allows you to gain some pretty cool insight into the design of your page and where you may be lacking in accessibility and inclusion, because you can see that maybe if on a certain page, everybody that's visiting your website and using the toolbar, not everybody, a large portion of people are increasing the font size or changing the background color to something with a higher contrast, it may influence your design decisions to, in the future, make the change to that page. So then in the future, people won't have to use the toolbar to engage with that content. It'll be accessible right from the get-go. Jeff, next slide, please. And then finally, we offer marketing support to organizations who partner with Recite Me, because we think that accessibility is worth shouting about, because really if you put the toolbar on your site and you put the button in a visible location, that's great. That's what we want you to do. But if you don't let people know that you have it internally and externally, the usage just probably won't be there. And you want people to know it's there so they can engage with it, use it, and benefit from it. So first, the first step on the marketing support slide is internal awareness. So first, you want to let the people who work with you know that you've added this resource. So to help with that, we provide custom resources to help raise internal awareness of your accessibility efforts. So we have a drive or a folder full of internal awareness resources that include email templates, things like that, newsletter distribution, just things that'll help you make your your employees aware that you have added the toolbar. And these templates are super easy to use. They're very simple. They really just, you kind of cut and paste your organization's name in there and it's done. So it's not like, a huge undertaking to let your employees know that you've added this Recite Me to your site. Second would be an external launch campaign. So this is, we like to, with our partners, we produce custom social media, infographics, and blogs designed to amplify your accessibility success. I think I said that right. So what that is, it's similarly pre-made templates, infographics, things like that are kind of like plug and play, where you pop in your organization's information, maybe your logo or some images related to your company, and the launch campaign's ready to go. So it's just again, kind of a thing where we've done the hard work for you. You pop in all your info, and then you can let everyone know that you have added this to your site, and your user base or customers or whatever they may be will be able to check it out on your website as soon as it's launched. Third, kind of goes along with the social media, is the accessibility calendar. We maintain a calendar because we believe accessibility is a good news story with great brand optics for every day of the year. So we'd like to just keep that top of mind. So in addition to increasing your toolbar use and helping people access content on your website, we also want to just push the overall idea of inclusion and accessibility to keep that as an important aspect of our everyday lives, and keeping it in mind in all the content and things we create. And finally, we offer client support. So we're always on hand to help with any query, no matter how big or small, including a deeper dive into the data to help you understand your users. So we'll help you look into that data that I presented on the previous slide. And if there's questions or comments or any concerns about usage, we want to see you succeed. We want the toolbar to be used on your site. We want people to be able to access your content. So we're always on hand for any needs like that, and pretty much anything. I think that might be, yep. I think we'll go back to Jeff for questions.
And move to the next slide, which says the word questions with a small question mark and a very large question mark in white. So we'll open the floor to any questions and go from there. If there aren't any, then we'll roll over to the contact information.
I have a question. you may have answered it, but so is there do you offer like a trial period if someone wants to try it out for say 30 days? Or
From time to time, we do offer trials. Typically what we do is we do a demo appointment with our customers, and we show them how the tool would work on their site. And then from time to time, folks will want to do a trial to make sure from a technology standpoint or what have you that it works on their website.
thanks.
No problem. And then I've switched to the 13th slide, which has a picture of me, Jeff Gedare, on there. It says Business Development Executive. My phone number on there is 703-447-0475. The next line is my email, which is my name, Jeff, Jeff, the ampersand or and sign, or excuse me, at sign, reciteme.com, which is reciteme.com. So Jeff at reciteme.com. And then the last line on the card shows our mailing address, 12110 Sunset Hills Road, Suite 600, Reston, Virginia, 20190, USA. And I roll to the last slide, which is 14, which is the final slide. So I'd like to say thank you for everybody for joining us today. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, comments, or want to learn how it would help your organization and your website.